Hey, Wanderers.
So, we're here to introduce a new series that we're going to do called PCSing. So, we're doing this intro one in kind of a question and answer style that we think are questions that people might have. They're questions that we had when we started this whole military process. And so we're going to ask each other these questions. And if you have any more questions, or if you've had similar experiences or family members that have, then write it down below. We would love to talk to you guys about y'all's experiences PCSing and how your family did it and all the different things that go along with that.
All right, so I think the first question is, what is PCSing?
Right. Okay, so we use it as a verb, PCSing, right? We add the ing on the end, but it's a PCS, and it means permanent change of station. So it means you're moving. It means a move. And that is, nobody ever says that. Like, when is your permanent change of station happening? Everybody's just like, when are you PCSing? Or, I PCSed last year. I mean, like, it is just the verb that everybody uses, and it means moved. But it's an official, we have orders, we're moving with the military move. But it's not the only way that you can move. There's also
a PCA. So that's a permanent change of assignment. And so the difference is a PCS is you're going to actually pick up and you're going to move to another installation. You're going to move to another location. A PCA, permanent change of assignment, means you could stay at that same location, but you're going to move jobs. You're going to move to a different section, maybe a different part of the base, especially at a larger base. That happens a lot. So like Lackland at San Antonio, where you could move between doing different things. You could even change career fields.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it the same thing as a retrain?
When you
retrain.
But you could PCA over to maybe like lead Airman Leadership School, and that's a change of assignment. And the PCA is important because it restarts your clock. So for most assignments, you're going to be in a place for a certain amount of time, and if you PCA, that will restart your clock without
though you just moved it.
Exactly.
Nice.
So a lot of people are able to do that, especially if they find a place they like. We often call it homesteading. And so there are people who could spend their entire careers maybe at one base, but they PCA through different jobs, and it keeps resetting that clock.
So the next question is, how does PCSing work in general overall terms? Not necessarily exactly for us, but just overall.
Well, what's going to happen is when you get, maybe when you make rank, when you need career progression, maybe when you get picked up for a school, you're going to get notified with something that's called a RIP. And that stands for something, I don't even remember what it stands for. But you get a RIP that says, hey, here is where you're slated to go. It's going to have the location, it's going to have the job that you're going to do, it's going to have your report no later than date, and that's the date that you have to be signed in at the new station by that date, unless you negotiate a change. So when you get that RIP, then what you've got to do is there's a certain amount of steps to make sure that you can get orders. And that varies from place to place where you're going, but generally what it's going to consist of is making sure that you have retainability so that your time left in the military will meet the requirements. Because sometimes with a move, if you're going stateside to stateside, you got to have at least a year remaining on your time in the military.
Right, because they don't want to PCS you and then you immediately quit to retire.
Retire or separate or anything. For some locations, like an overseas assignment, there's going to be like a minimum of like 3 years that you need. Because again, if they're going to PCS you across the pond, they're going to want to make sure they're going to get their money's worth out of that.
Right, because that's one thing that we didn't think about putting in the questions, but they pay for all of the moving. The military does. So it's not out of pocket to us. There are little ways that you can do it and little things that you have to pay for that aren't covered that we're not getting into in this video. Yeah. But for the most part, your move is free and covered. So they need to make sure if they're paying to move you overseas that you're going to be in service.
So that's one thing you're going to have to get. Do you have the retainability? Number two, and this is especially, they check it for any location, but it's especially important if you're going to more isolated locations, is they got to check and make sure that there's not anything your family requires that's not offered at the installation. So,
or you.
So that can be if you have a family member in what they call the EFMP, Exceptional Family Member Program, which just tracks if your child's got asthma.
I was going to say that ranges so far. I mean, there's so many things. Like, just for the quick example, when we were in Spain, there for the dependents, there was no doctor for us. So we had to pass a bunch of physicals and stuff over here stateside before they would move us to Spain, saying, we think these people can live for 2 years with very minimal health issues and nothing special or anything that they'll have to have.
That's not to say that we'd have doctors for 2 years.
Right. There are doctors, but not like there.
Right. And so if you've got a chronic condition, if your child has asthma or anything like that where they need services that aren't offered at the location, then that may hinder you getting that assignment. It doesn't mean you can't go there. It doesn't mean that you can't move. So please don't ever avoid getting your family member on the EFMP program if they need something, because you're like, oh, well, whenever you can go here. That
has been one of the really big issues, is that people go, well, our kid really needs this thing, even if it's like an IEP situation at a school, which won't ever happen. But if it's something like that, people have been like, well, let's not get that on the record, because then we might not be able to go to this base that we really want to go to. Like, there are ways that you can do it, and specialists that you can go see, and things that you can do to be able to do this. So please still get your family members on the EFMP program, because they get the right kind of assistance that they need from that program.
Because from my perspective, Ramstein over in Germany is really awesome, but don't sacrifice the health or the welfare of you or your family member just because you might get to go to Ramstein.
Right.
Please make sure and take care of them.
But also, Ramstein has a huge hospital.
They do.
You'll get to go.
But that's the thing to think about. So there are other things that you need to get filled out, but those are going to be the two main ones when you get that RIP before you get orders, is that you've got retainability, and that from a medical clearance perspective, you're going to be able to go, and your family, if it's an accompanied tour or something like that. And then you get orders. Now, once you get orders, that's when it becomes real, because once you have orders, you can begin working with the travel management office. That's TMO, that's the people who do your move. You can start out processing with the different base agencies and that sort of thing. But none of that happens until you've got orders in hand, and you got to get through that process. And so that's what you hear people say is, all right, I got an assignment, awesome. Do you have orders yet? No.
And without orders, nothing is official.
Yeah.
So you'll get an assignment RIP, and you'll be like, oh, here's where we're going, and you get so excited, or you're super bummed about it, and you start like looking at everything there is to do there, and then they'll be like, oh, well, you don't have orders yet, and we need you to go somewhere else. And so, and even orders can be changed. So all of this is on a needs of the Air Force basis.
Or your branch.
Or whatever branch. This just specifically is Air Force. Thanks for watching our brand new PCS series. We're excited for where this is going to go.
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get the next video.
Bye, guys.